in Colorado. So for people joining around the world, I'm right outside Denver, and I have just a private practice, and we work with eating disorders. About 95% of our clients are clients who are recovering from their eating disorder. And then the other about 5% is intuitive eating and body image, and just super blessed and feel super grateful every day to be able to do that. It's my second career, and I just feel like the stars kind of aligned, and just so I'm really happy to be doing this. I have a couple other team members who are fantastic, Lauren and Jessica, who are also dietitians in the practice.
Awesome. So my name's
Yeah.
Lauren, Lauren Wag. I am a licensed social worker. I work at Colorado Teen Therapy. We're just a small business working mainly with adolescents, ages like 10 to young adults, so pretty much up through college. And we're not a fully, like, we don't focus specifically on eating disorders, but it's something that we see a lot with teens. And so a few of our clinicians have kind of learn to focus on that and really work through that. And we've gotten to know Jamie through that, and it's been wonderful working with Side by Side. And so we think it's just really important to talk about eating disorder recovery while we're home because it definitely looks a lot different right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. It's just brings up maybe some struggles, and that may have not been experiencing before, or exacerbates those, which is just super normal. Just in this hard time, recovering from an eating disorder is just so super tough. So we see you, and we just want to be able to support you. So that's kind of what we're doing today. Lauren, thanks so much for having me and asking me to join this really important conversation. Um, yeah, so I guess we can get started, Lauren. Um, we're just gonna kind of to lay it out, like what we're going to be doing is just talking about a few different resources and a few different things you can do to maintain your recovery and stay strong in your recovery, or just put one foot in front of the other. Um, and as we go through this list, we wanted to point out before we started talking about these things that this can be very tough. And if you are unable to do some of these things, that's okay. And just to hold a ton of compassion for yourself if that's just not where you're at. But you're here, and it's great that you're here to listen, so that hopefully this can plant some seeds or start the conversation for you, or get those wheels turning, so that when you are ready, you can come to it. But yeah, just hold a lot of compassion for yourself. I think that's going to be one of the big themes throughout this.
Yes, compassion is so important. And so, just to mention a few resources that are in the area. So, if you're local to the Denver area, we have a few groups that go on that are open to community members. So, at one of the local treatment centers, ED Care, they have a free peer support group every Saturday, 1:30 to 2:30. They didn't have on their website how they've transitioned that to virtual, so I'm not really sure how they're doing that. But we can try and get you guys more information. We're going to post all these resources onto our stories
Mm-hmm.
after this live ends. And then the Eating Disorder Foundation, which is a great resource, has switched all their groups to online. So they're virtual groups. So you just sign up online. We'll post that link later. But there's family and friends ones that are like Monday 12:30 to 1:30. Tuesdays they have a 12:30 to 1:30 for 18 plus. Tuesdays 6 to 7 and 18 plus. Wednesdays 5:30 to 7 family and friends. Thursdays 12:30 to 1:30 18 plus. Friday 12:30 to 1:30 is lunch with staff, also 18 plus, and then Fridays is their adolescent group, and so that runs 5 to 6 and it's for ages 13 to 17, which can be a great support, especially for adolescents who may not have a big recovery network quite yet. They can get that like body image, food support, and just have a place to talk and connect with other teens who might be struggling. And then Saturday at 10 to 11:30 is their 30 plus. And then Eating Recovery Center, another local treatment center. They have a support group for 18 plus Tuesdays at 1 p.m. And then Thursdays at 2 p.m. is their college and early adult group. And they also have specific ones for alumni. These are all free groups that you can join and can be a really good resource if you're feeling maybe lonely or a little isolated from your recovery community right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And I would also urge you, so those are local to our area, but as well, wherever you're coming from, to just reach out to them and ask them, or look through their website, because many people are offering support groups right now, and free support groups, as well as like low cost support groups. And one free support group going into meal support here is COVID-19 eating support. So it's on Instagram, and it's at COVID-19 eating support. And there are Health at Every Size dietitians. If you haven't heard of Health at Every Size, it is a completely Health at Every Size practitioner guided resource, and it is therapists and dietitians, and I believe some recovery coaches, but they are coming to about every hour. They log on, and you can join them for meal support. So if you're struggling with eating right now, or at times when you are struggling with, doing the recovery thing and choosing to have snack or meals, or to honor your hunger, or if you just want to kind of log on to just get that support of other people eating, however you want to use it, but they are on every hour to eat with you. So they will be eating, and they're inviting you to eat as well. And there you can just talk about general recovery topics, just through the comments. So it's been fantastic. And I know for my clients, I don't know, Lauren, if you've been referring people to that, but it's just been so helpful, to people. So that is one for meal support. The other meal support that you can get, and we urge you to look for and to do, is for asking for accountability. So it's a little bit harder when many people are with a small group or on your own. And if you don't feel comfortable with the people that you're with to ask for support, it can be tough. I know it's presenting some challenges for my clients, but there is support out there as far as, again, with the Instagram. You can reach out to a friend that you do trust, someone in recovery, someone who you are open with and feel comfortable with to talk about your recovery. So friends and family, and also your virtual dietitian or therapist. So hopefully everyone has a team. If you don't, that's something to consider. I know that therapists and dietitians also are all really transitioning over to virtual care and can still provide really good care virtually. So you can look for those resources. And then virtual hangouts with friends. So if you're having a hard time doing it on your own, that's a great way to socialize and to feel less alone in this, and to continue to connect. Even though we're socially distancing, we can still connect. So to reach out to those people, to do something fun around food, to have like mentioned, like some pizza parties or an ice cream party or some fun themes, as well. Watch a movie, play a game, and eat as well. So the next thing to mention, anything to add there, Lauren?
No, I don't think so. I think that's great. I think like just really staying connected and making sure you have people that can help hold you accountable if you're having trouble holding yourself accountable. And that could look like even just like asking for your friends to set boundaries if you are reaching out to friends. I know for my teens, I talk to them a lot about like, if you can't always like necessarily rely on your parents for that, like you can reach out to your friends, but also know that like friends can set boundaries to not reciprocate that support. And so that can look like saying like, hey, do you have space to support me tonight? Do you have space to talk through this with me, or to do a virtual meal with me? And knowing that answer could be no, like I don't have space for that tonight.
Yeah, great point. Yeah, that's a great point. To add just with the meal support and just with food, I guess, the topic of food and nutrition, food scarcity is coming up a lot. So if you are feeling a sense of food scarcity, not being able to get enough food, or if it's very fussy, that's very common right now. We are forced into this very, very sad, awful situation where we are being forced to kind of have to take a hard look at some of these things that may have come up with your eating disorder in the past, or might bring up some old wounds of feeling that food scarcity mindset, bringing up some trauma around that. So again, the main thing with feeling a sense of food scarcity, whether your family might be rationing food, or maybe putting some foods off limits in order to save that food or for everyone to be able to have that food until the next grocery shopping trip. Because of less grocery shopping trips or things not being available at the store, the first thing I would recommend is just to raise awareness to those food scarcity thoughts and why they're coming up. It's a kind of a forced exposure, forced to kind of look at those that past trauma around food or those past eating disorder thoughts. So it's very normal. So the first couple of things I would just say is that I really want to normalize those feelings that you might be having around that and those thoughts that are coming up. And to find the common humanity in that many people who have struggled with disordered eating and eating disorders, that's something that will come up. And we want to just start raising awareness and be mindful and curious about those things so that you can then take that and reflect and work through that with your treatment team. So yeah, that's and then from there it's kind of individualized as far as like making a plan so that you aren't so you're experiencing as the least amount of food scarcity as you can, whether that's going to food banks or planning ahead to make sure you're getting that item that you might be trying to expose yourself to. So say you're just starting to expose yourself to some of those fear foods and you're getting comfortable with it, but now they're not as available at the store. That can bring up things. So just as kind of planning ahead, talking to your treatment team about that, and continuing to plan for those exposures as best as we can, or how to talk with your family about how it might be triggering that certain foods are off limits or that we have to ration things. So individually it's very different, but I would talk to your team about that and just continue to kind of be aware that those things will come up and so that you can navigate forward with them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's an awesome point. So thanks, Jamie.
Mm-hmm.
So next we want to jump into general skills. So just like some general skills that you can utilize to keep yourself on track and either get back on track if you need to. And so one of the things we thought was really important is maintaining a schedule. I'm sure you've seen it a lot, like on Twitter, there was the trend of quarantine routine, and there's a lot of things going on around Instagram about keeping a schedule. And by saying keeping a schedule, I don't mean a rigid schedule where like you have to get up at 8 and eat by 8:05 or something like that. Just having some normalcy with your day to day, like kind of a routine that you can expect. And then within that, maintaining normal eating times and patterns. So eating every 2 to 3 hours. Some applications that you can download to help with that recovery record. You can either log your food or also just set up notifications that'll remind you that it's time to eat. And then another one is Eatwise. And so this one, you just kind of start at the beginning of the day and it'll send you a notification that it's time to feed your body every 2 to 3 hours. I think it does ask if you want to track weight. That is an option you do not have to put in, and I wouldn't recommend it. I think it's an awesome app because the notification just says it's time to feed your body, and that is a good reminder. And so I think that one's the one I've been recommending for teens because they're not getting up until like 11 or noon. And so they're like, well, I've already missed 2 meals, so I don't have to eat them today. And it's like, no, like you still need that nutrition. So
Yeah.
that one you can start at the beginning of the day, which I thought was really a great benefit. And then staying connected with peers and friends and your treatment team. So if you have a treatment team and are nervous about telehealth, talk to them about that and talk through your concerns because I think it continues to be a great resource. So when you can't see them in person, you can still at least have that connection and that support, which can be really beneficial, especially if you're starting to struggle in recovery right now. And if you don't have a treatment team, starting to look around in your area and see, what clinicians are offering that telehealth option so that you can get set up with the team at the moment. We kind of mentioned this before, but utilizing recovery focused friends and again, like being aware of boundaries around that, and reaching out to friends, like doing those fun nights and fun theme nights just to stay connected. And like maybe you guys like usually go mini golfing together, bowling, and so like making a mini golf in your room and like doing a virtual something like that. And then another point is don't fuck with the meal plan, stick to it. And I'm going to let Jamie talk a little bit more about that as the dietitian.
Yeah, definitely. So the meal plan is a great, for going off of the importance of structure right now. you may not be on a meal plan. You may have progressed off of your meal plan, which is great, and you're moving into more intuitive eating and full permission. However, if you need to fall back on your meal plan, that is totally fine. That structure is there to help remind you and to help support you in those times when you're struggling. So continuing that meal plan as a minimum is important. Now, I want to stress that that is the minimum. Your meal plan is, kind of just the framework, the bare bones of what we want you to be, what your dietitian wants you to get in. However, it does not know your body. It does. Your body is going to feel differently every single day, and if you are hungry or thinking of food off of that meal when it's not time for that meal or snack, I would really encourage you to honor your body, which knows best, and to eat. Also, depending on, where you're at in your recovery, you might not have those signals. So you might not feel hungry, or your eating disorder might say that you're not hungry enough, or that you can't trust those signals. So you should be following that meal plan anyway and getting back those hunger cues so they can regulate. So as a minimum, I would definitely recommend following that meal plan. However, I know that's very difficult, and I would talk for some people, and I would definitely talk to your dietitian and your therapist around the meal plan and how you can be most successful around the meal plan, because I know it's easier said than done. Just follow your meal plan, and that there's tons of barriers and tons of eating disorder thoughts that come up around it. So work through that with your team. Also, the idea of two right now is, a lot of things that are coming up around nourishing your body. When we were talking about structure, your structure for your day, or how you're taking care of yourself. You may be coping through, just you're maybe in your anxiety, and you're distracting and watching Netflix and chilling out and staying in the house and maybe not moving. And that is perfectly okay. And you still need to follow your meal plan, and you still need to be eating every 2 to 3 hours. Your body still needs some nourishment, no matter what you're doing for the day. If you are just existing, requires proper fuel to do all the things that your body needs to do for you. So a couple other things that come up around the meal plan, forcing some exposures right now. I know a lot of my clients, and I'm sure Lauren, you too, it's almost a forced exposure with some foods, because maybe some of your safer foods are not available, and you might not be used to having some. If the eating disorder is afraid of certain foods, you might not be used to having those, and those are the only option available. It's a forced food exposure, and it's going to be uncomfortable. However, getting uncomfortable with those things doesn't mean it's wrong. The eating disorder will think it's wrong, but that getting uncomfortable is going to push you further in your recovery. So having some planned food exposures would be great if you feel safe and comfortable right now doing so. I would talk to your team about some forced exposures. It's a time to continue to build trust with your body. Also, I had this question earlier, the mental versus physical hunger. I had this question earlier when I was in a support group, or doing a support group for the COVID-19 eating support, and someone was asking what's the difference. I really don't even like to separate them. Really, I think with the mental hunger and physical hunger, if you are experiencing thoughts of food, then you're hungry. And hunger cues, those subtle hunger cues, are what you want to be. You want to get used to honoring those. You don't want to have those intense hunger cues. That means you're going too long without eating. I know for me, and I don't know how it is for you, Lauren, but I know for everyone, you experience different kinds of hunger cues. And for me, it's thinking of food. If I'm thinking of food, I might not feel it anywhere. Maybe I don't notice it, but I'm just thinking of food, and that's my body's way of telling me it's time to eat. So really not really distinguishing between them. If you're experiencing any of it, it's hunger. It's all hunger, and something that you should honor to start to move toward that full trust with your body. You can eat when you're not hungry, right? That's normal eating, and that's socially, if we already ate and someone's coming in and is offering us cookies or something, it's a very normal, healthy thing to socially eat, even if you just ate and you're not necessarily hungry. Practicing eating when you're not hungry is something that your eating disorder is uncomfortable with, but I'm sure a recovery goal of everyone's to feel comfortable and trusting of to be able to eat when you're not quote unquote hungry. So yeah, talked a lot about that. So I'm sorry, I'm not trying to make
No,
this
thanks
super
for sharing. I
simple.
think that's so important to talk about. Like, I think for me too, like also as soon as I start thinking about food, like if like something
Hmm.
pops into my head or like I'll be watching TV and they're eating, I'm like, oh, that sounds really good. It's like, oh,
Hmm.
I'm hungry. I need to eat
Hmm.
something.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's crazy how our bodies work.
Hmm.
So some other skills to just quickly run through. Journaling can be a great resource right now when you don't have the kind of physical outlets that you usually do to process. So just like journaling out your struggle, like writing out what you're having trouble with, what's going well, and kind of practicing both. I think one that my teens use a lot is writing no send letters. I'm a huge fan of them. Like you are probably getting frustrated with people in your house or people around you, and writing a no send letter to them is a great way to process that anger and frustration. Or even writing a no send letter to some of these like online like thinspo models or like movement folks who maybe aren't necessarily helping your recovery right now, like writing a letter to them about how it's harming your recovery. They're the messages they're sending, you don't have to send it, but it can be great to just process. And I know a lot of kids like doing art and painting and drawing as a good coping skill. And so drawing out how you're feeling, like if you're feeling a lot of shame, draw it in whatever form it shows up for you, or draw the pain you're feeling or the loneliness, kind of get those emotions out somehow and just let them process. Another great thing is to practice gratitude. So, personally, I use a 2 minute morning book. It's like a little one. I got it on Amazon, but it goes through like, what am I letting go of today? What am I grateful for today? And what am I focusing on today? Which for me is just a great start to like kind of set up my day and know that I'm grateful for things and can also like kind of plan out my day and have things to focus on. Or just having a gratitude journal in general to practice gratitude and think about the good things going on right now when it might be pretty hard to see them.
Hmm.
Um, Connecting to your values, if that's kind of work you've done, it comes from ACT, but like connecting to what feels really important to you, what feels most significant in your life that you really want to move towards, and then setting committed actions around them. So setting goals to move towards those values, which typically don't align with our eating disorder values. And if you're feeling a little off track right now, like either talk to your clinician, dietitian, therapist, or just make a plan for yourself to get back on track. So thinking about SMART goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, um, reachable, and what's the T? Time
Um,
sensitive. Time
yes, time
sensitive.
sensitive.
Sorry, it's still early in my head.
Yeah, me
But
too.
having those SMART goals that are kind of very attainable for you to achieve. Um,
Hmm.
And, Jamie and I were talking before this, and she used Dr. Gaudiani's example of like turning over to recovery is like coming to a new home. So it's not going to be comfortable. It feels new and different, and it's not what your old home is like. My screen paused.
I
Uh,
was like,
I have a screen time limit for Instagram so that I don't spend all day on it.
oh, that's
Um,
a good idea.
and I hit my limit, so I just had to ignore
Don't do
that.
that.
But I don't know, Jamie, if you wanted to say anything more about that.
Yeah,
That
I just think that's so super important, along with the compassion piece, knowing that this is going to be uncomfortable and expecting and working on accepting that it's going to be uncomfortable and it's not going to get comfortable anytime soon. It gets comfortable as you continue moving forward with it. And as you continue to expose yourself to these uncomfortable things, they become a little bit less uncomfortable each time you do it. So just kind of expecting it's going to be uncomfortable. So, and the other thing is just like when you are that idea of like you're moving to a new home, that's the home that you want to be in. It provides you with the things that you are looking for. And it's a matter of like settling in and having it feel more like home. And um, so it's kind of something that just requires patience. So just to remind yourself, like, this is the home I need to be in order to be able to live according to those values that Lauren was mentioning. So yeah, I think that's very important to note, to kind of learn to accept it, or work on accepting it and talking with our treatment team about it. And the other thing, just going back to the fact that it makes sense to be struggling, and with any of these things we're talking about, when you are creating SMART goals, there's no goal too small. That is one step forward in your recovery. Even in those, the inability to reach some of those goals are a step forward in your recovery, because that's one step closer to understanding, okay, I'm struggling right now, I'm unable to do this, why is that? And those struggles are necessary to your recovery. We can't have recovery without those struggles. So just kind of to mindfully observe, our struggles don't define our recovery, they are part of recovery. So just to really try and remove judgment from that, which again can be very hard. So it's a practice.
Absolutely. Such a practice, and compassion is just so important in our
Mm-hmm.
day to day, and just kind of knowing that like struggle's real right now and that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, definitely normalizing that. Common
Mm-hmm.
humanity. This is hard. This is hard,
Yeah.
and having an eating disorder through this and working through eating disorders is very, very hard. Um, the next thing, and this I can talk for days about, but I know we're coming on 30 minutes here, is body image. And body image, I know it's coming up a ton for my clients, and it's definitely something to talk about. It's definitely something, if you haven't brought up to your treatment team, or if you're not working on it, bring it up with your treatment team. Your therapist and dietitian, I'm sure, would be happy to talk about it. And it's essential. It's an essential part of recovery. And even, with nutrition, the food piece, you can't talk about food without talking about the ideas that pop up around body image that are directly related to your eating disorder, with that are putting together. So it's just something that can't be separated. So we got to start talking about it. And going through that body image journey. So a couple of things you can do. So affirmations on your mirror. So one thing is, let's just start by talking about body checking. Body checking and an increase in body checking is very normal right now. And when we are, kind of stuck in our houses and going through recovery, and maybe have less time to distract from that and more time to body check, or maybe we feel more out of control right now, there's not much we can do. So what to focus on, what to control when we can't control the environment around us or what's going on. We can really tend to go toward controlling our body, or having an increase in behaviors. And that really is it's something that feels good to the eating disorder. It makes you, and it might sound like your voice too, but it is the eating disorder voice feeling like you can be more comfortable by body checking and feeling more in control of that. However, it is a negative feedback loop. If you start to raise awareness of how it's making you feel after your body checking, during your body checking, how it's causing you to, what it's saying about what you can and cannot eat, or how you should move that day, it is a negative feedback loop, and it increases those negative thoughts and keeps you in the eating disorder. So actually doing a little video and blog post about that soon, just with some research behind it, because we love research as dietitians and therapists, and it people who body check more often stay in their eating disorder longer, and it definitely increases those behaviors. I really talk to clients about how it's like any other eating disorder behavior. It's just as harmful, and it's something we have to start raising awareness around. So a couple of things you can do is you can have like a bracelet that you play with, or snap notes on the mirror, so that when you go to body check, you can maybe have some notes about, maybe some pictures that bring you back to your values, of like a favorite place you went, or maybe what are those, like vision boards, or little notes to yourself that you really can relate to, that bring you away from focusing on your body and focusing on your life. And yeah, just start raising awareness, so you can start thinking, well, how often do I body check, and how much can I decrease it today, or what can I decrease? Maybe I still am looking in the mirror, I'm not ready to give that up, but maybe I'm not body checking in other ways. Maybe I'm not weighing myself, maybe I'm getting rid of the scale. So just to start to reduce that. Body image also is a lot about understanding your relationship with your body. So talking with your team about it and journaling. Journaling about what it means and why it makes you feel uncomfortable and kind of digging because under body image is a lot of stuff. So we want to kind of dig into that and understand it so we can start to heal it and form a new relationship with our body. This is a lot to be said, very little to be said about the huge body image is such a big topic, but it's good to get started with it. So the other things, comfy clothes all day, every day is great. And, you know, right now you want to create safety and comfort for yourself and set yourself up for success. And if your clothes aren't comfy, it is going to be a reminder. It's going to draw attention to your body. And we don't want that. It's just going to nag at us. Like if we have tight pants on, it's just going to nag at us. And if we're not comfortable with our clothes being tight right now, because you're not at that point in your recovery, we want to set ourselves up for success. So wearing comfy clothes so that doesn't bring attention to our body. We're trying to get attention away from our body if that's not comfortable right now. And if we're going through body toleration and just trying to tolerate our body right now and not at acceptance yet. Getting rid of the scale in the house is another big one. And lastly, and really importantly, is weight gain with body image right now. So it's so individualized for everyone, so it's hard to talk on this topic, but I would bring that up with your treatment team. Weight gain, if your body is gaining weight, that means it needs to. I know the eating disorder doesn't want to hear it, but if you're gaining weight right now, it is not because you are doing something wrong. It is because your body has this opportunity to allow itself to gain that weight that it needs in recovery. And it's, again, a forced exposure, maybe forcing you into a spot that you're not ready for. So definitely talk to your team about it, but it's necessary. It's okay. It's good. Even if it doesn't feel good.
Yeah, and just a note on that, like I saw something, I think it was on Instagram last night of it was like something recommending you put your jeans on at least once or twice a week to make sure they still fit. And I think just like thoughts on that is like, no, you don't have to do that. Like it, like kind of just like weighing yourself, that cannot give you validation of your worth or anything around that. Like kind of like what Jamie said, if you're gaining weight, it's probably because you needed to right now. And
Yeah.
while the eating disorder doesn't like that, it's probably what needed to happen. And so kind of just sticking to those comfy clothes, like if your body is changing, so that it's not an extra reminder
Yeah.
that you are gaining weight, and just to like feel comfy in your body, you don't have to try on your jeans.
Yeah, definitely. And unfollow those things and talk with your team about like next steps forward. I would recommend if you are trying something on or if clothes aren't fitting, put it away. Put it in a box, put it in the corner, or get rid of it altogether. We're moving into the body that we should be in. So that's something to bring up with your treatment team. But unfollow those accounts for sure. It's accounts that are making you feel than any less than, then that's not something that is helpful or we want to be following.
Absolutely. And just some kind of going off that, jumping over into movement really quick. I know we're kind of pushing our time
Yeah.
limits, but
Yeah.
there's been a lot of trends lately on movement within Instagram, TikTok, like plank challenges, push-up challenges, all those things. And it's like you do not have to do any of those challenges. You do not have to be moving right now if that doesn't feel good to your body. I think ultimately the goal is finding a balance with rest and movement and doing what feels good for you. And so checking in with your body can be really helpful right now, and really listening to it, which can be hard when you've been in the eating disorder for a long time and really disconnected from what your body's telling you. And so as you get back into recovery, that will become easier to just listen to your body and check in with it. And I think something that can be really helpful is doing a body scan. So, taking time to sit in a comfortable place, lie down, and just run through your body. Like, how am I feeling mentally, emotionally, and physically in these parts of my body right now? And asking, like, what does my body really need right now? Does it really need to go outdoors on a walk? Does it really need to, do movement? Or does it need rest and a nap maybe, and just like sitting on the couch? Because, we might need rest right now as we move through this collective trauma. Like, our bodies are going to be tired. We're depleting our energy stores as we are more anxious and kind of focus on the greater picture of our world right now. And so just knowing that like extra rest right now is okay. And we mentioned this already, but unfollowing the accounts that tell you otherwise, that feel triggering, that make you feel bad about yourself, you do not need to be following them.
Mhm.
And especially, I know all our kids are on TikTok, and so you can't really control what shows up on your For You page because it's based on an algorithm. But as soon as you watch either a weight loss video, maybe you click on something related to an eating disorder, that means your future For You page will show more things related to those eating
Yep.
disorders, weight loss, things like that. And so if you hold down your thumb or like whatever finger you choose on your For You page, you can something will pop up and you can say not interested in this content, and that
Mhm.
will kind of reset the algorithm to stop showing you those things on weight loss and stuff like that. um,
Mhm.
and Jamie, I'm not sure if you want to touch base on this at all, like the concept of movement.
Yeah. I mean, I love talking about movement too, but I'll keep it super short. And really, I would just go off of, I would like to reiterate or emphasize that your body's going to be tired right now. We're all going through a lot, and that is so normal. Um, so you do not have to be doing any type of movement. And one thing to note or one practice to do is just like the body scan that Lauren mentioned, which is a great thing to do, noticing how you're feeling physically, emotionally, but also kind of thinking of what part of you is talking right now when it's coming to exercise. Noticing, well, are there shoulds? Is this to control anxiety in a way that, if you're not doing this, you're doing something wrong, or you're a bad person if you're not choosing to exercise, or if you're weight gain. So where is it coming from? To kind of analyze, is this coming from a self-compassionate place, like, man, I'm so restless and anxious and nervous about things in our world. So I really want to get outside to experience some like life outside my home and to move my body and feel joyful in that way. Well, then that's coming from a good place. So I would just really analyze intentions with your team, and talk to them about, what is safe movement for you right now. Because what you want to be doing by analyzing intentions is you want to be going in the direction of a joyful relationship with exercise. So the more we're acting on, from an eating disorder place with exercise, the more we're reinforcing those old behaviors and, those thoughts. We're telling those thoughts they should stick around every time we listen to them. So, to really think about, which way are we going in? Are we moving in a recovery focused way or an eating disorder way? What are we strengthening? Because we want to be strengthening that recovery voice. So that means, we have to analyze that every time we are thinking about movement. Where is that coming from? Um, so yeah, that's what I would add about that.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned joyful movement, Jamie. I'm just like finding joy in it because I think that can be really powerful right now in a time where like there's maybe not a lot of joy in our lives while we're home and things feel
Mhm.
scary and unknown. And if movement's what your body needs, like maybe do something fun. Like me and my roommate, I know we did I think it was like a Latin Zumba dance on YouTube. I can't dance, and so it was hilarious. So we haven't laughed so hard in a long time. And finding things like that are just not necessarily focused on like getting stronger or getting faster or any of those things, but just finding joy in the ways that like our body allows us to move when we
Mhm.
nourish it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, it could be so super helpful right now. A way to get out of, what's going on in your mind, and just to move your body in a fun way like you would choose if you were a kid. And that's something to think of. How would I move right now if it had nothing to do with food and body? What would I choose to move? It might be dancing. So just kind of think about it in that way. Might be helpful.
Yeah, and we have some like extra supports like Instagrams, books, podcasts, and YouTube. So just like Instagrams, these are just a few. Like I said, these are like quick compilation, and we'll post these to our story later, so you can take a look. But
Hmm.
for Instagrams, Body Image with Brie, great one about body image. The Fuck It Diet, wonderful. Living in the Hot Pink, she's local to Denver. Great resource. Jamie, so Side by Side Nutrition, Jamie, I think you've mentioned this, the people you follow are also like good ones.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
And
would, I would. Yeah, go ahead.
and then Christy Harrison. And so take a look at Jamie, who Jamie follows. Ours aren't always the ones on Colorado Gene Therapy aren't all eating disorder ones. Some are just clinicians in the area, but you can take a look at ours too. And if you find accounts you like, maybe take a look at who they're following because they probably
Yeah.
get some inspiration from the people they're following as well.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. I would say that would be a good idea, kind of to look who we're following, and then who do you resonate with? Who, if any of those. So one thing I tell my clients is when they kind of clean out their Instagram feed, when they're going to mine, and starting to follow those people, whoever still makes you feel less than, um, still don't follow them, because there can be people who are totally who are very helpful for some, but maybe not helpful for you. So if it's at all triggering, then it's just not a page to follow. So whoever resonates with you, and brings up those positive thoughts and is recovery focused. Yeah, and so in addition to that, I would say I don't want to mention specific Instagram pages because there's just so many, that I don't want to leave anyone out. So there's amazing,
So
amazing
many.
supportive people on Instagram. So I would just, yeah, go to scroll through, who I'm following, and who's Lauren and their team is following. Books, there are a ton of books. So I guess this is a time to bring up that I have an ultimate guide to resources guide, where it has body image books, eating disorder recovery books, books of health at every size books, just a ton of resources. So you can go there, and that's on my page, and then it's under resources, and you can just download that. And we're always adding to that. So, but do you have a couple in mind, Lauren, that you're thinking that you personally like?
I think if you're thinking about diet culture and wanting to better understand your relationship with it and kind of how that's influenced your relationship with food, Fuck It Diet is amazing. And then a book called Just Eat It, that's one I've been recently reading and has so much research, which I love in it, and just like really talks about diet culture. I definitely don't recommend those two to my teens because they're a little more dense.
Yeah.
But I think like as an adult, if you're wanting to like learn more on those are great
Mm-hmm.
books. Body Respect is also a wonderful book.
Mm-hmm. Yep, definitely. Anti-Diet by Christy Harrison, Dr. Gaudiani's book, Sick Enough. And really, I really like to recommend podcasts as well, just because it's something, you can, whatever you're doing, you can pop it on, and just, yeah, kind of just sit back and listen. And there are some amazing podcasts. Again, you can go to that ultimate list, but Don't Salt My Game by Laura Thomas. Christy Harrison's Food Psych is a really good one. And then the Eating Disorder Recovery podcast by Janine Anderson. She's local to this area, and she's putting out some like some bonus episodes about recovery during this time. So definitely I would check that out. There's a lot of really good content there. Um, and then, yeah, kind of, there's some also YouTube. Um, YouTube's tricky. I would be careful, because, there's some, I would just be careful. I would talk to your team about what channels you're following. There are some really good recovery channels. Actually, I need to put a list of those together. I can't recall any right now, but my team is putting together some. We're starting a YouTube channel just for all things recovery. We're very open to ideas, but just words of advice. Some general advice, just bringing up some conversations, lots of body image. We're going to be talking about some research and having some clinicians on, really just to overall promote, having that grit in recovery, and that full recovery is possible, because it is. And so having clinicians on, and we're going to have Lauren on as well to talk about, specifically about teens and adolescents, and the pressures around body image and food, and how probably, and Lauren, you see this a lot, but at that time in your life, you feel like that bubble is it's so, nothing's outside that bubble, right? And so just like the pressures at that age, it's so hard. So talking about body image and the food piece, with Lauren, that will be coming too. So that's something to look out for. I have a couple videos on there right now, but you can subscribe so that you're ready for that. And that's just side by side YouTube. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. Really grateful that we were able
Yeah.
to kind of share this with you and talk about recovery that might be a little harder while we're in quarantine, while we're all home. So during these uncertain times, thank you for taking the time to think about your own recovery and think about, showing yourself compassion during this.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Lauren, so much for having me, and thanks everyone for showing up. That's awesome. Again, it's just awesome you're here and showing up. That's what we need to be doing right now. Just showing up wherever however you're feeling.
Yeah, and thanks so much for joining us, Jamie. We really
Yeah,
appreciate
thanks,
it.
Lauren.
Okay,
Okay,
bye
see you later.
everyone.
Bye, everyone.